Hey guys, how you doing there? Welcome to this week's AMA with a load of questions we've answered. What am I going to cover in this week? I'm going to cover three things. Basically, how to heat hot water. Some people have asked a lot of questions regarding hot tubs, basically, and spas, and how to heat them. So I think this comes up a lot, sort of twice a year for us because we're in Australia. Also, 50% of the people that watch this channel are in Australia, and 50% of the channel actually in the US. So it comes up a lot with spa baths and how to heat them. So I'm going to cover some low-cost ways of doing that and show you some things. The other thing we're going to cover is we've been asked a couple of questions about the Victron Cerbo and rebates in Australia for DIY and tax credits. I'm not quite sure how they work in Australia. So if there's any Americans that watch this, I'd love to know how the tax credits work for someone that's doing a DIY solar system. But explain how they work in Australia. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is AC coupling. We get this question all the time of people that have a shed that might be 100 meters away from a house. They want to put solar on the shed, have the batteries at the house, or vice versa, have the batteries at the shed, solar on the house. How to do it the most economical way to do that. So I'm going to cover that in this live stream, how to do it. And we're also going to give away, we've got the Off-Grid Tribe. If you're unaware of the Off-Grid Tribe, the Off-Grid Tribe is our paid private community. And basically this month we're actually giving away, last month we're giving away a free solar light to anyone that joined, and that's anywhere in the world. The solar light is valued at $330. We're going to actually pick the winner of that there using a random number generator in this live stream. So stick around for that there. We'll do that towards the end. And I think the girls are actually going to run that same competition again this month as well. So anyone that joins the Off-Grid Tribe and gets involved in it, it's a paid private community. We get direct access to me to ask any questions and things like that. And there's a whole heap of online courses about going off-grid, DIY solar. It's a lot more than just solar. We talk about building materials, growing your own food, a lot of different technology. So there's a lot of different courses there. One of the courses that's probably one of the most popular ones is the Victron course. If you're looking to learn and understand about Victron, that course is a detailed course, step by step. I've been designing and working with Victron products for over 14 years now. That'll show you everything I know, how to program it, and all that from a DIY point of view. So that's the Off-Grid Tribe. Want to check it out? The link will be in the description below. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's get this here. Start with the first question. So got 7 old panels. They're 35 watts each. How to use them to set up and power a small hot tub, charge controller, inverter. So this one's more about how to set up and power a hot tub, and more the main question we've been asking, what I want to cover today is how to use those to heat the hot tub. Now I want to share this screen with you. With heating water, probably the most efficient and what's been used over the last decade, heating hot water, has basically been resistive loads. Now, with these resistive loads, this is an Australian product. There actually are ones that you can get in the States, which are more MPPTs and regulators. These here actually just directly connect your solar hot water to them. Solar panels to them. So just on them, you get your positive and your negative. And this one can take up to 1,000 watts of solar directly into it. So what it's actually doing is it's actually just creating a short. It's going to heat your hot water. So when the sun's out, it's just going to heat your hot water, which is pretty cool. There are better ones, like I said, that are a little bit more expensive, that are MPPTs. One of our customers here in Australia actually has one. I will get Albert to share us the link, and I'll put the link in the description below of what he uses for his. But it's got a regulator and a charge controller in it, which basically going to help the panels perform a bit better when it comes to heating your hot water. And how these work, they actually use the thermostat that's currently in them to turn this off to stop it from boiling your hot water dry, basically. So they're really low-cost options of heating hot water. And one of the things, though, with doing hot water off-grid with solar, the reality is most of the time that you're going to want the hot water at the hottest and enjoy it the most, it's going to be the coldest. And solar's probably not going to perform at its best. So something to really think about and be aware of. It is a bit of a challenge off-grid. Probably the best thing to do with heating hot water off-grid and having on demand all the time. I'm not a big fan of propane or gas. I would go with wood fire and look into rocket stoves. Rocket stoves are so energy efficient. If you don't know what a rocket stove is, be prepared to be in a deep dive. There's some really amazing things you can do with rocket mass heaters, where you can heat your house, heat some thermal mass to keep the house warm overnight, do your hot water, you can cook with them, and so on and so on. So there's a whole rabbit hole to go down with solar hot water. So something to think about there. But these elements, I'd highly recommend if you're looking for something low cost to do hot water off grid. And the reality is, there's a lot of heat pumps getting upgraded these days, which mean they need to remove the old resistive element hot water system. You could probably pick up a water tank with an element already in it and do the same thing and shove the solar panels directly into it. So something to think about there. And you'll be able to pick those up for next to nothing and plumb that hot water tank into your hot tub. So cool. So the next one we're going to talk about rebates in Australia. And like I said, if anyone's in the States and you can explain how the can you get the tax credits? I know in the States it's very different. In Australia, how the rebate works here is the solar system's installed and the price that you pay up front is actually discounted. So say, for example, the solar system was $15,000. That system could have been $20,000 as an example, and there's $5,000 worth of rebates that are on there. So the customer never really sees it or does it. I know in the States that you pay the $20,000 up front and you get the $5,000 back in tax rebates later on. So I'd love to know in the States, can you get those tax credits from a DIY system in the States? And I know, can you get it for off grid? Because I know that in the States, it's, DIY is pretty a taboo thing here in Australia. I know it's huge in the States, either where they think we're not that smart as you American guys over there, or just don't trust us. I don't know. I know in the States you can install your own solar system, do everything, and have someone come out and inspect it. I think that there would be something would really encourage in Australia. And one of the biggest problems I see with off-grid in Australia, we actually just don't have the manpower to service the needs of all the customers here in Australia. It's just not there. So I would highly recommend, in Australia, if we could basically get that system where someone can DIY a system, have it installed, and then have someone come and inspect it, I think that would really increase the quality of solar installations and really help with the demand that we do have out here. So with the rebates in Australia, I'm going to show you how they work basically. So this is a calculator in Australia. It's all on the panels, so it doesn't matter if you're off-grid, on-grid, it doesn't really matter. And they're actually not a government rebate. A lot of people think that they're a government rebate. They're not. They're actually, people that are on-grid actually pay for these. So as a part of your energy prices, it's called the small-scale technology certificates. So everyone's on-grid actually pays a portion of their energy bill goes towards this. So if you think you're getting rebates, it's not. It's actually your energy prices go up on your bill because you pay for it. So if you're off-grid, you do truly benefit from this because you never, ever have to pay this back, is the reality. So how it works in Australia, every year it changes the prices. But we'll have a look here that anywhere in New South Wales, if I was to install a 3 kilowatt solar system, I would get $1,200 rebate. So the reality is it worth you to pay a professional to come out, do the installation? If you're off grid in the middle of nowhere, for someone to travel and come around and do the installation for an extra $1,200. And if you can go in here, let's just say, for example, it was a 6 kilowatt system, come down, calculate return, you get $2,500 in credits, basically rebates. So that's actually discount upfront off the price of the system. So something to think about there. Is it worth it? I know in the States it's a different system. The way it works is in the States you can, it's a tax credit. So I'd love to hear in the States if you can get it on your DIY off-grid system. Post in the comments below. That'd be great. Okay. Now, before we get on to the next one, I'm actually going to do our competition. And we will, before we talk about the AC coupling, we'll basically pick our winner from the competition. So last month we had 30 people join, and most of them from Australia, from the Off-Grid Tribe. So what the Off-Grid Tribe, it's a paid private community. It's in there where I talk about a lot of the stuff, a lot of education. We focus on a lot of off-grid technology, so things you can and can't use off-grid. Also as well, if you're one of those people that don't like Facebook and you think supporting a system, we've built this platform to be, not a part of the, Facebook or supporting one of those big things, and there's a cost to it, is the reality. One of the things, we're not about making money from the Off-Grid Tribe membership from the community. We actually gift all that money back after we take administration costs out at the end of the year. We gift all that money back to someone in the community's project. So it's not a money maker about that for us. It's about getting people off the bigger platforms, away from Facebook and things like that, into a private group. And like I said, we give away all that money at the end of the year. We give away to projects. So we might select a couple of projects and they're voted on by the community, not by us, of whose project should receive that. So we've got 30 people that joined the Off-Grid Tribe last month, and we're giving away a free solar light, which is worth $330. So let's get this random number generator. Pick it here. Okay, so we've got 2 to 31 because that's the numbers we're there. We're going to generate number 28. So who was number 28? Emma. I think that's Emma. It's going to be Emma Pennell. So well done. I know you guys got a free solar light with your solar system. Cool. There we go, Emma. So it's going to be 2 solar lights you guys get out there. So well done. Congratulations on winning that. So the girls will get that sent out to you next round when we send all our solar lights out. So good stuff. So yeah, jump over, guys. If you want to support the community, support us as a business, you can jump over and support the offgridtribe.com. The link will be in the description below. Okay, so AC coupling. Let's talk about this here. And the Cerbo. Okay, I'll quickly cover the Cerbo. So what the Victron Cerbo is, it's actually the brains of the product, the brains of your off-grid solar system. Where are they here? Monitors, battery check, accessories. We'll just click up here. Panels and system mode. There we go. There we go. So the Cerbo. Oh, that's the global link. We don't click on that one. Oh, look at the screen over here. So with the Cerbo, what it basically is, here we go, the Cerbo. Using 2 screens here, a bit of a challenge. So with the Cerbo, what it basically is in a Victron system, it's the brains of the system. So it connects all your other devices, so your inverters, your solar regulators, and puts it all into one platform, puts it on the line online. Now, the power of the Cerbo is that anything from a Victron programming point of view that you can do standing in front of it, you can do remotely these days, which is amazing. So from off-grid point of view, and it's really changed, I suppose, my business and how I can help support customers. When I first started doing this, over a decade ago, if something went wrong, had to drive 5 hours, get there. And sometimes it was something really, really simple. And you could have saved a whole drive out there in a waste of a day, basically. Because it's a 5-hour trip out, 5-hour back. It's what whole day of my life that I'm never going to get back. So with the Cerbo, it's really important. If you're going to be DIY off-grid in the middle of nowhere, or even got a system that you've purchased from a company, I'd highly recommend with that there, I'd highly recommend having one of these installed, because you can actually reprogram anything remotely. Gives you so much data. You can see what's going on and put your whole system online. Now, if you're someone that doesn't like your system being connected online, they actually put an SD card into it. So put an SD card into it, and then once a month if you want, or however long it still takes to fill the SD card up, you can pull that data out, put it on the Victron VRM portal, so you can see everything that's going on. So the Cerbos are well worth it to have them in the system, in my opinion. They just make the Victron off-grid system so much more usable. It's more powerful when there's a grid, when the grid's available. There's a lot of things you can do when the grid's available with the Cerbo. So I'd highly recommend putting every single system. So what we're going to talk about now is an AC coupled system. So we get this question all the time. I'm going to find these solar charge controllers. Okay, I have a shed. It's 100 meters away from the house. I want to put solar on that house. The house is shaded. I want the batteries close to the house. What size DC cable can run for the panels? So in this thought process here, and I see this a lot on the internet, a lot of people asking this question. A lot of people try and run the DC cable from the remote shed over to the house, or vice versa, One thing I'd say with your house, and first I want to cover this, if your house is in shade, off-grid, it's really going to make it cold, and that's going to be not fun in winter, and you're going to end up spending a lot more energy on heating your house in winter. Good house design is one of the best things you can do when going off-grid, and using that solar passive design. Big north-facing windows that get covered by shading in summer, but in winter allows that sun to come in. And honestly, it's one of the biggest problems I have with my house here. our house would be a completely different beast to live with if we had some sunshine in winter. Now, council are cutting the trees down and taking them down. I think next winter is probably going to be the first time we get full sun in winter. There's one more tree to go that the council is going to be removing. And it really, we use a ton of energy in winter heating the house. We're an all-electric house here. We're in the middle of town. We didn't go with fire. I would love a fireplace. It's one of those things that, going in wood and all that sort of effort, I really wanted to make the house as energy efficient as possible and do it all with electric. And that's the biggest challenge I face right now every year is heating the house in winter. So first of all, I address this is if you can, or if you've got a ton of firewood, great, you're just going to run a fire. But really, it's really important to get that house designed. That's the best money you can spend is get that house energy efficient and using solar passive design off grid. Something to think about. Now, I want to show you these. Show you the what I would recommend. Now, this is DC. So it comes down to the DC versus AC coupled. So if you've got a shed 100 meters away and you want to run DC for 100 meters, the problem with running DC for 100 meters with that there is DC is a lot more dangerous. If something goes wrong with an arc or a spark, DC is more dangerous. You can weld with DC. Just to give you a quick example, my motorbike, my electric bike fell off the trailer on the way home the other day from a ride, and it welded a hole. Literally, the battery cables were severed, and it actually welded a hole within my trailer, which is interesting. So a few things out of that, I've got to move the battery cables and make them a bit safer. And I actually disconnect the battery now when traveling, so they're not exposed to make sure that doesn't happen. So even though the battery is isolated, with the isolated battery just disconnects it from the bike. The battery cables itself that run out of the battery to the isolator, they were severed and it just welded a hole in the trailer. So I think it just welded till the battery went flat, basically. Didn't actually affect the battery. Seems okay. Yeah, so DC can be a lot more dangerous. And the way I like to think about it is if you've got a shed and you've got a house, you're probably going to have AC electricity there anyway. So instead of spending money and digging another cable, you're better off putting bigger cable up for your AC cable and doing it AC coupled. So we use the grid connected inverters. That's a very common thing that you see. We use the FEMA products here in Australia, or ABB is what they used to be around the world. But it's pretty much just simply an AC coupled inverter. The reason we choose to use FEMA off grid, they're the fastest reacting inverter. So when you turn a kettle on, as an example, or a jug, if you want to boil water, they're on instantly. They're really fast compared to a lot of other brands in the market. It might take 20, 30 seconds before that inverter ramps up. With the FEMAs, it's within 2 seconds. They will ramp up, start cranking and give you full load. So that basically means that when the sun's shining, they are powering your load instantly, not coming from batteries. So it can really help save your batteries and things like that. Really recommend the AC coupled. So in that situation, from an AC coupled point of view, you've got, 100 meters away. AC is normally more efficient. The cable's normally cheaper when you're doing AC coupled. So using these AC coupled inverters is normally more economical than running DC, over 100 meters. And then also you're just using that same cable. So maybe, if you're digging a trench between 100 meters, I would recommend spending the money and upgrading to put bigger AC cabling. And there is a thing called voltage drop, which I'll just bring this up, and something to take into consideration, and voltage rise when it comes to solar. Voltage drop calculator. So there's some calculators on here, and I'm going to look at this screen here. Length of the cable. So we want to say 100 meters. Current. Let's say we put a 5 kilowatt inverter up, so it's 20 kilowatts, or we want to put a 5 kilowatt load over the house. Voltage drop allowed 1%. Oh, that's 10 meters. We want 100 meters. So you need 50 square mil of cable to deal with that voltage drop, basically. So I'd highly recommend, and the good thing about having a AC coupled inverter in your system, so AC coupled and DC, of a day when the sun's shining, say you've got a 5 kilowatt off-grid inverter and you've got a 5 kilowatt grid-connected inverter. What happens there is of a day, you actually have twice the power. So you get twice the usable power when it comes to of a day, so you can use a lot more. So the way I like to do with AC coupled systems off grid, normally the way we design systems, we normally want to design a system that the batteries are full by about 11 o'clock and all your panels are going to turn off. So off grid, it's you use it or you lose it. What we like to do with our designs is then we start turning the electric hot water on, as an example. So from 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock, the hot water is going to come on, run and get heated up. And then the AC coupled inverter is going to fire back up. Your battery is going to stay full and it's going to do everything from your AC coupled inverter. As an example, summer coming up here for us, we have our air conditioners turn on because once our batteries are full, and for us, we're connected to the grid as a backup. We start feeding energy back to the grid, is how it works for us. So instead of feeding energy back to the grid, sometimes it's actually in minuses, which means we get charged. Or if you're using energy from the grid at the time, you'd actually be making money, getting paid to use energy. So what we do in those moments when our batteries are full and our systems feed them at the grid, we actually start turning air conditioners and stuff like that on to use that energy and use as much of it as possible. So in that off-grid situation, if you're off-grid, you can heat hot water. You can pump water is another thing we do off-grid, pump water up to water tanks and things like that to take advantage of the excess hot water. Turn air conditioners on coming into summer. I know you guys in the States are going into winter, but it's something that you could do. Air cons are really efficient these days. And if it is winter and your batteries are, say, full, come by about 1 o'clock, your batteries are full. If you get an AC coupled system, you can actually have your aircon actually come on and take that extra energy and use that, and heat the house from sort of 2 to 4 o'clock before the sun sets. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with those excess energy in off-grid situation using the AC coupled inverter. You can do it from a DC coupled system as well. It's the same thing. But I highly recommend it's more efficient using that AC coupling, especially a distance between things that you want to do. I'd always recommend use that AC coupled system. You work out a better system and it does in the long run work out lower costs. And the difference, I suppose, probably with the DIY for you guys in the States, you are working with higher voltages with the grid connected inverters, those AC coupled inverters. So something to think about and consider. But with those higher volts that you're working with, you're going to get more energy efficiency and you'll get more out of your system. So cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you. I'm going to end that there. I'm going to keep these AMAs quite short. So we've answered everyone's questions. So the things we covered today was how to heat the hot water, using some cool services. The rebates that we talked about for government rebates, AC coupled systems, and we also, well done, Emma, for winning at the solar light, which is pretty exciting. So now you're going to have 2 of those solar lights on your property. So we'd love to see a photo. When you get your solar lights and put them up, send us a photo. That'd be really cool. So thank you. And until next time, guys, stay energized.